Well, hey there, folks. It has been a minute. I am glad to announce that our show is back this evening. It's great to see you. I see Toxic Man Flu is already in the chat. He's been waiting. It's great to see you, Tox. And I brought back your favorite person in the entire world. Raquel is back with us. I'm so excited. It's great to have her back because she left a pair of rather large high heels to fill. And, you know, everybody did wonderful in her stead, but Raquel is one of a kind and she's a gem and she is one of the true heartbeats of this show. And I am thrilled beyond thrilled to have her back. And of course, we have Culture Casino with us, who has been a wonderful addition to the panel himself. And we last left off. We brought you guys Razor about a little over a month and a half ago back. And then we went on an abrupt hiatus. Hi, Lady Mist. I see you in the chat. It's been a rough time, obviously, with the dementia things that my mom is encountering, but it's time that kind of got back on the horse. So still dealing with things, but I realized that I needed the show as much as everybody else does. So it's great to have the show back. So, alrighty. Well, we will get into season 2, episode 18. We kind of did it where we did the Captain Sand, and then because that was the period of time when Apollo took command of the Pegasus, we went ahead and slipped in Razor because it seems like it fits in that chronological order. So it worked out really well doing Razor when we did. So now here we are continuing into the regular episodes, and we have a great episode tonight from the Cylon perspective, and that is Downloaded. So I will.
Your head was so huge.
I will bring Steven in. And hello, Steven. It's great to see you.
Hi, I thought this was next week. I'm sorry.
Well, you made it. So, all right. Well, without further ado, folks, as we have 4 of the best people in the galaxy ready to go, we will lead off with Raquel. All right, Raquel, you do your wonderful lead-in that you put together.
Well, first, I want to thank you for that incredibly warm welcome. I have missed all of the faces and souls involved with this channel. Drew, I just love you and your mom so much, and I wish you guys the best. And on and off screen, that I'm here for both of you, and I know that she wants you to do these streams, and we're so happy to have you back. I'd also like to say hello to my fellow co-hosts. Thank you so much for being here. And I want to thank every single person in the chat. Toxic Man Flu, baby, mwah, mwah, I missed you. Lady Miss, $5. Just everyone who has showed up tonight. You guys, we're nothing without you. So thank you so much for coming tonight and for supporting this channel. Let's get the engine running again. Let's kick it into high gear, and let's have a great time tonight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And real quick, one thing that we also have to congratulate Raquel on. Raquel is now a published author. She published some short dinner table stories, and Raquel, if you could direct people before the broadcast is over to where they can check out that amazing work of yours, because you deserve all the kudos in the world for now being a published author of stories, and I love it.
It's a little scary for me because, as you know, I was a published author before in nonfiction because I do communications and technology, and I'm a scholar there. So I've published nonfiction, but I was pretty scared to publish my fiction, and it's been a it's been a little intimidating. But yeah, these are some supper party stories, and we'll talk about that after the show. But without further ado, let's dig in because I want to hear what you and culture and one of my favorite people in the whole world, author Stephen Walton, has to say about this really, really cool episode. So let's dig in, folks. Let's start off with a recap tonight, and that's because we've had a lull in the stream. So let's bring everyone up to speed. We're reminded of Kara's lost love, the resistance back on Caprica. We're reminded the Cylons are rebuilding Caprica in their own image, a world where a lot of toast can be made. In other words, a Cylon civilization. We're reminded of the Sharon unit storyline. We're reminded of Callie gunning one down, the Sharon that shot Adama. We're taken back to the conversation betwixt Gaius and Red Six, discussing the nature of his visions, his contact, and the veritable occupation of his mind. Is she a figment of a deranged mind, a chip in his cranium? We're reminded that Hilo's Sharon unit lies in Battlestar's brig, pregnant with Hilo's hybrid toaster tot. We're reminded that the toaster tot is not of the Sharon unit or Hilo, but instead made from Six and Gaius. We're reminded that Kara had a conversation with the Hilo Sharon about the reincarnation of the Cylons. Special attention is paid to reminding us that Cylons retain all of their memory with every download into a new unit. Hilo Sharon says, death becomes a learning experience. Here we see the writers borrow from the Bhagavad Gita, the Hindu faith, and the concept of the wheel of samsara. Also found in Buddhism and Jainism, this is the journey of the soul, perfected through repeated death and rebirth in multiple lives. So this is the start of the show. And now I'd like to ask everyone, what are your comments on this? Did we lose everyone?
Oh, no. Well, leading into this, we're headed into some of my favorite episodes. This one in particular because it is so strongly focused on the Cylon experience. So, that lead-in was perfect in my opinion because we're about to get into some of the psychology and some of the miracles of a hybrid biology. In this episode. This is a good one, but they really do a really good job of making the machines have this experience of consciousness and religion in a way that humanity at this point in time in the real world has seemingly somewhat started to abandon. So you pointing out all the wonderful things that are recalled or being borrowed from, that's awesome. I hope that was helpful. So.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Here we're being dragged into the Cylon world, and it's obviously to get us invested in maybe entertaining some of their philosophies and turning these very, very wicked, villainous characters into perhaps something more. In this way, then the show becomes more complex, right?
Yeah, and then we see, I like how it just kind of starts out like through that interesting recap at the beginning, and then at the very end of that recap and leading into kind of the first pre-part of the episode where Caprica 6 is with Baltar and they're having that conversation in his home, and then all of a sudden the nuclear blast and the home is leveled, and then of course we see all her memories flooding back, including a nice little in the quick cuts there you can see replay the spine glow. God, man, nothing.
God damn!
Nothing would beat having a woman with the spine glow. But
Well, I mean, it would definitely do away with this whole notion of the faked orgasm. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
you're talking about an illuminated spinal column. So yeah,
Yes,
spinal
but
cord.
do the Cylon men have vibrating penises?
Yeah.
And do they light up? Because
Right.
I
Well,
want to know.
okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? Are they more like a lightsaber?
Yeah. Well,
Less saber.
the thing is it's cool because we get to see her, we get to see the process. Like, we go through all of her memories, and bam, she is naked in the tub of goo. She's got a the Deanna model flanking her on one side, and then a fellow six in the background, and you can see how intense the process of re-downloading is, because it's, for them, really traumatic and emotional experience, because they actually have to have emotional support as they come back into a new body. So it's no picnic re-downloading for a Cylon.
Yes, that's so true. And yes, of course, Drew, everyone at home, Drew is speaking of scene 3. And then after that, of course, scene 4, and we can pick up at scene 4, and we can talk about that right now. So we cut to 6 in a tub of birthing goop, and we realize the previous sequence is her consciousness, her memory downloaded into a fresh body. The Beers, Valeri, and another 6 of 12 model are surrounding her, kneeling at the tub. Beers comforts her, and all the units look upon one another, all shifty-eyed, when the original Gangster 6 appears to only be concerned with Gaius Baltar and his well-being, if he survived the blast in the mansion that Drew told you about. She is visited by an image of Gaius. It tells her no one can see him except for her, the Caprica original Gangster 6. Gaius tells her to conceal that he is, quote unquote, there. He advises her not to reveal her love or loyalty, as it will, quote unquote, be a problem for her. 6 follows his suggestion, and Beers informs her that her mission was a resounding success. 6 looks horrified, as though she regrets it all, as though she is shocked by her actions and the actions of her former incarnation. So what did you guys think of this? She wakes up in this puddle of goop, and it's and she's not really fitting in with her own kind, is she?
No, it's very jarring, as you can see. And then it's very jarring again, because we don't even get a rest, because Boomer re-downloading at the same time.
Yeah, well, we do a few rapid cuts before we get to that, but yeah, definitely, right? Then we cut to a 10 weeks later tile and a story. It's a story direction tile. Then we cut to the I shot Adama Sharon being led down the corridor on Galactica, and of course we relive Callie shooting her. And then we cut to the Sharon unit in a tub of Cylon birthing goop. Then a series of her memories. But however, this time, you guys, everything is far more traumatic. It's far more violent. Then back in the bath with Beers. I know there's pain, she says. Just breathe. Sharon is convulsing, literally physically convulsing. So nothing like what the 6 unit went through. As the same Cylon birthing crew reassures her, Sharon is gagging and spazzing. She's also handcuffed. The toaster tub team now includes Aaron Doral. When I shot the sheriff, Sharon sees a copy of herself. She has a complete conniption fit. This model is the model that struggles with the truth of her nature and being. What are your thoughts?
Well, it was especially hard for Boomer, because she was like more hardcore programmed. Of all the 8s, Boomer was programmed as a sleeper agent. So, like, there were additions made to her programming, and that's why I think when she re-downloaded, it was super traumatic for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I see it as every time they go through this experience, it's a rebirth. Birth is not a process that's free of violence. It was less violent for the 6, as you described, Raquel, but for this particular, I shot the sheriff, Sharon. I love that, by the way. She's re-experiencing being shot,
Yes.
kind of in that violent way during her rebirth. And you're getting all that flood. Just imagine, as a being, having all of your life experiences pumped back in you. Now, if you've been killed multiple times, imagine how much more intense that would be each time it happens. And of course, as Drew said, she's extra special because she had no idea that she was loopy, kooky, crazy for Cocoa Puffs. So unlike unlike the 6. So
I
Yeah.
concur with Mac Head from
because
Culture
this
Casino.
is like you get shot 50 times, 60 times. Like, how many times has this woman been shot? She has to relive it, right? She's getting shot 50, 60 times.
Well, see, it seems like when we see like the other 8s, the 8s are more self-aware, like they know what they are. It was just Boomer that was like isolated, and she was a sleeper agent, therefore she wasn't sure what exactly she was. There was a lot of confusion there because that was part of her mission. She was a sleeper agent, and that was the way that she was programmed.
Yeah. What do you think of the fact that I sort of am drawing a correlation between Star Trek's Lol and Boomer at this point? The I shot the sheriff, Sharon.
I can see that.
Yeah, because I sort of feel like this might not just be programming. What are your thoughts, Stephen? Does this feel like programming, or does this feel like this unit may actually have genuine feelings for human beings? Oh, did we lose Stephen?
I think he's just AFK for a second, but I
agree with you, Raquel. I think that there was a lot of depth of feeling when it comes to this particular Sharon. I think that some of what was programmed into her to block everything allowed for her to have a more complete experience because she wasn't aware of the fact that she wasn't a human. It gave her a true appreciation and a level of interaction that the other agents, with the exception of perhaps the 6, to have had experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, actually, beautifully said. I think I like that that you're touching upon what it would be like for a human being, and that is fully immersive. Where if you are aware of your mission, you've always got one foot in your own world. But if you're fully immersed in this other civilization, in this other way of being, you are fully invested. I love that, Culture Casino. That's a great comment. It was my impression as well.
Well, see, I want to make a point though about the 8 line in the whole like way that it starts to shake out about this time and for the rest of the series. You can see that the 8 models really sort of have more of an affinity to be to side with humanity.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that's something in the nature of their line. Yeah. But with Boomer, she just is really jarred because she believed she was human.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they do later on in the series allude to the fact that they believe that's a flaw of her particular model, or the overly emotional. That's way down the road. So I'm jumping way ahead, guys. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay.
No, it's fine. It's in the context.
It is, and don't worry because that will be coming up, and we will talk about that. So that said, you guys, this is when we cut to the opening credits, the title sequence, right? And then we cut to the present day and a Cylon occupied Caprica. It's Gaius the Imagined and the Caprica original Gangster 6 sitting on a park bench discussing the genocide. They are interrupted by beers. 6 feigns feeling disoriented from the transfer. The apparition Gaius appears as the original Gangster 6 is startled by beers appearing. As they talk, we see a Six who is vulnerable, nervous, and afraid of her fellow Cylons. As Six regains her composure, Gaius suddenly reappears. Of course, this being the apparition Gaius, right? They have an awkward conversation about Six being a war hero. The Gaius phantom disappears again when Aaron Doral approaches. The park bench to fawn over Six's war hero status. Again, we see Six feign thanks, but she's clearly remorseful for what she's done. And then in my notes here, I say, we're nearly 10 minutes into a 40-minute show, and this is the longest prologue I can recall. Or maybe it's just that it just feels that way. But here where, Drew and Casino Culture brought up at the start of the show that this is all from the Cylon perspective, and we're supposed to grow a relationship with the Cylons in this episode. And you sure can tell, because that prologue, it's almost like retrospective exposition. It's this huge dump of information on you so that you can situate yourself as a Cylon citizen instead of a person. So
Well, they're humanizing the Cylons for everybody, giving us that perspective, which is a good thing because you can't have a good protagonist without great antagonists. And I don't think the lines are so very blurred in this show, considering how complex it was written. So I enjoyed seeing things from their perspective, and then getting the feeling, or getting the impression that they have feelings, that they do have moral conundrums, that some of them are very different than others. And I actually like I don't know what we're going to call him, Angel Gaius. I don't want to call him an angel.
Yeah.
But he's very different. He's like all of the confidence and intelligence of regular Gaius without any of the gross aspects to his personality.
Yeah,
Right.
does SD actually like this version of Gaius? That's what
Yeah, I know. That's a
This version of Gaius is SD.
Oh boy.
I disagree. I think that he's his ego as this angelic figure is still intact. I think he's still just as much of an asshat as, pardon my French, as he always is, though.
Why do people hate Gaius? Poor Gaius.
Well, the interesting thing.
Casino Culture or Culture Casino. I'm sorry, everybody. Look at his avatar.
Yeah. Oh, they
Right, I forgot.
Yeah, they've made all kinds of interesting little meme avatars about script Dr. Raquel. It's hilarious.
Poor SD.
But the thing is I found it quite interesting that you see this sort of fascinating adjustment of post download of how these new beings have to adjust to a different life.
Yeah.
And so I find it very, very interesting that first thing Caprica 6 does is she reaches out to Boomer. And it's funny because you start to understand that and Stephen put it so well that they're humanizing the Cylons, because you can see the struggle they have with these different emotions like love and things like that. And Root Korean, I always kind of thought of them that way too, Head 6 and Head Baltar, yes. Yeah. But for the purposes of our podcast, we've always called them Angel 6 and Angel Baltar. But
no, we didn't call him Angel Baltar. We can't do that. That just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, that's why I called him Phantom and Apparition Baltar, because it just Angel in him. The
less horny Baltar. You know what?
You know what I mean? Less revolting Baltar who isn't real. That's out of your mouth on a podcast.
I call him Scriptar. We'll do that.
Oh God.
Yeah, and Drew is correct, everyone. After that 10 minutes of retrospective exposition, we finally arrive here. And we happened right on a scene where, as it turns out, the Cylons did not create the Sharon units with the adequate anatomy to carry a child to term. She must have an emergency C-section. Then we immediately cut back to Caprica. A conference of balcony toasters is assembling. As more of the show credits roll, we have Beers stroking Caprica 6's ego over how she diabolically, sexually, and emotionally possessed a man and killed billions of people. Beers, of course, she's a 3 unit, clearly has no conscience and isn't troubled like 6 or the Adama shooting Sharon. Beers asks 6 to help the Adama shooting Sharon, as she is struggling to behave like a Cylon. Still traumatized that she isn't human, Caprica 6 refuses, but Beers presses her, saying they'll cold storage, discontinue, and box the 8 model if Adama shooting Sharon can't be rehabilitated.
That's pretty damn scary to think that they're going to shut down an entire line.
Yeah,
because one model's defective.
Apparition. So yeah, this is a nutty scene. I totally agree, Stephen. It's crazy. Shut them all down?
Yeah, that's a hell of an ultimatum. I mean, that's just a hell of a decision to make. You know, if it's like if you break your finger, kill the person. You know, shoot the horse.
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. It just shows. I think that the people in charge, the models that are in charge that are making the decisions, are just radicals. They are extremists in as far as purity. So I think that's what that tells me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it
sounds. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Raquel.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it's incredibly authoritarian. I mean, it's very much the very way that maybe China would go about handling it in their government. You know, you get sick with the recent pandemic and you get eliminated, right? I mean, because there was evidence of that happening during that process, and that's not uncommon in authoritarian governments.
And you know, while we're bringing other things into this, I just want to say every time we say toaster now, I think of Pando, from Disney Star Wars. I don't know why. Don't know why, but I mean, you know, would he bang a toaster? I don't know. Disney Star Wars. It's all about butt sex. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just really sad because we see them sort of turn on one another, and it becomes a situation where either you do as you're told, or you'll be responsible for the complete discontinuation of your consciousness. So it's quite crazy, especially because we're tapping into that Jainism, we're tapping into that Buddhism, we're tapping into that Hindu idea of the wheel of samsara and perfecting the soul. Well, she has been perfecting her soul, and the result is that she's becoming more human. And of course, as Drew rightly pointed out, this model always had a predisposition towards compassionating humans. However, she seems to be, with each download and with each replication, becoming more and more attached to humans. So I guess the message here is, get attached to humans, you die. We'll kill you. We'll discontinue all of your units, and it's nuts.
Damn, that's a damn shame. An orgasm in this world is a small death.
Yeah, this character, they're at this point, if you're a virgin to this show and you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself, they're going to get rid of the Sharon units, then you basically don't even want to watch the show anymore.
No.
Grace Park is like, she'll tear your soul right out of your body, and she'll just be like, oh yeah, she's so beautiful. She's so emotive.
Would so catch a child support payment.
She's gorgeous. Yes. Mm-hmm. You know, she's yeah. Stephen wants her to be.
Stephen's so toxic. Toxic, Stephen.
Well, you know that conversation that she has when she's talking about the crew on the Galactica and everything about the people she loved and about the chief. And then she loses it and throws that photo against the wall, and it's like, just, my God, it really hits home because it's so like just powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really did write the relationships in this show well. It's very complex and realistic, given the context of the situations.
Yes.
And
Grace Park is a standout as just
oh
wow,
yeah,
she's really bringing it. I know she's one of your favorites, Stephen, and
Yeah.
certainly with good reason. This woman is an outstanding actor, and just wow, she can just get. Oh, she makes me cry every time. Like she just makes me bawl. It's just ridiculous. There's just so much happening in her face. And you don't think for a minute that she's an actress. You're thinking to yourself, oh my God, we're grappling with this heavy duty philosophical situation, and you know what is going to happen. And my credit goes to her, because she is just beautiful to look at and is just exceptionally talented.
Agreed. Yeah, it was just one of many members of this cast that are excellent, and it's difficult. It's very difficult for anyone to shine through because we have so much talent on one cast. But she really does it. She knocks it out of the park.
Well, then you start to wonder too about the, is there further manipulation going on by Caprica 6? Like, is she like are they continuing to sort of fuck with Boomer?
Ooh, Drew cursed.
Well, let's get into that. So we transition scenes by way of a clever camera treatment, and we see through binoculars. It's the Resistance. We're drawn up to the conversation on a nearby balcony. Anders is planning an attack. We cut back quickly to Galactica. The Toaster Tot is fully baked and born, so we finally see Toaster Tot come to life. Mature, so it needs oxygen, and it has to have oxygen support. And of course, then Sharon needs reparative surgery, because of course she didn't have the correct plumbing for all of this to happen. So,
really? I didn't catch that. That was a part of the issue?
Yes.
Did Doc Cottle mention that? Because I honestly didn't hear it.
Doc Cottle actually says, "Why didn't you guys install the right plumbing?"
Oh, that's right.
So, yeah.
That's a great line.
I forgot. Sometimes I forget to speak Cottle. My bad.
That's okay. You know, everyone on this channel knows that Doc Cottle for me is just like if you crossed John Wayne and Dr. McCoy and you just smush them together, you wind up with Cottle. So yeah, no problem there.
Absolutely.
Well, I like Doc Cottle.
Me too, man.
Yeah, me too. I love him. I think he's just outstanding.
Dude, all these actors, all these characters, just real quick, I'll give a shout out to the whole cast, because the writers and everybody. This was such a great show, in my opinion. Like I said, it's hard for any one person to shine through because they're very different, and some of them are different approaches in their acting method. But it's amazing how they all worked together on this show, and how any of them had any standout parts, because they're all so good at what they're doing.
Yeah. So a bunch of new people have joined us in the chat. Drew, would you please say, be so kind as to welcome all of our new guests?
Well, yeah, I see Jane Theory's in here, and she's oftentimes a member recurring on this panel, and also Angela Straven has popped in. It's great to see him. As always, it's great to see Lobster. He's a regular in our Bounding into Comic streams, and he's popped in here. Of course, Dollified Don. He's my compatriot, also a great writer for Bounding, and of course,
Don was killing me last night, Drew. I was on Bounding last night.
Of course, Roof Korean, is always great to see him, because he's like one of my fellow awesome Asians, man. Glad that to call you a friend, Roof. You're good people, brother.
Oh, you know what, Drew? I wanted to mention one thing. While we were doing the Bounding in the Comics last stream with Dollified and John and why did Justin Proper come in and leave a super chat and said that asked John if he would talk to you about stop throwing rocks at his house? And then he said you were outside of his house and you rang the doorbell, and when he answered it, you threw a diaper full of mayonnaise at him. What the hell is going on?
And
So Justin's trying to come up with like witty things.
Are you doing that?
No.
No, I don't live anywhere near Justin. He lives away and about 2 hours from me, actually.
I'm saying that's a 2-hour drive to throw a diaper full of mayonnaise at somebody is pretty. That's a lot, bro.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, I tried to pretend like that moment didn't happen. I actually popped in on that stream.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you for being there.
I already knew that you were innocent, Drew.
Yeah, Al, we're
really a little part of your mind didn't say, well, it's Drew.
Well, a lot of my friends are Filipino, and I don't know a single one of them that eats mayonnaise. So I'm thinking if you wanted to throw a dirty diaper at somebody, even if he had the opportunity, it certainly would not be mayonnaise.
Yeah, mayonnaise
Drew
is some
a
white
lot
people
more,
shit.
Imaginative than that.
Yeah. So Al F comes in and he's asking, sorry I came in late. Have you guys touched on the situation about Nikki Klein and the NXIVM?
No, we haven't gotten there yet, but trust and believe, Stevie, you can't wait.
well, if people didn't know, I mean, you can do your own research on this. Sadly, there is some, and we were just talking about how great Grace Park is as an actress, but Grace Park and Nikki Klein were mixed up with mainly Nikki Klein, to be honest, because I think Grace Park got out of it. But the NXVIM sex cult, who, by the way, I think the guy in charge of it finally did get put away.
Listen, Drew, when we do that, when we talk about that, can we just call it like the Pegasus Actual Podcast After Dark and just make it its own show?
Yeah.
All right. Lot to unload. A lot of unloading to do for that story.
But long story short, just you do your own research on it. But yeah, Nikki Klein was heavily involved in it. I don't know if there's going to be formal charges brought against her or not, but yeah, this is a big one. That was the one with what was that lady, kind of high profile actress's name that
Alison Mack? No.
Yeah, it was Allison Mack. I think.
Yeah, I know all them hotties were involved in that craziness.
But yeah, it's a really bizarre thing. But anyways,
sex cult. It's a sex cult.
Yeah, we're not gonna touch on that. Obviously, we don't.
That'll be a special episode.
We don't condone that, but
not at all. No, not at all.
I mean, I would just rather have wild sex without the cult. But the thing is that is something you could do research on, because it is a really bizarre story, but it touches on human trafficking, and that's no bueno.
Speaking of sex cults, Jane Theory, Jane Theory just loves her white boys.
She is in the cult.
Leah Dama out there.
Jane Theory is our resident
white girl, pumpkin spice
Leah Dama fan. Jane Theory is all about that Leah Dama.
All about it.
Oh, not tall enough to get on the ride. Sorry.
She's like Jane would sit there back when we were doing that. Back when we did the review for that one episode, Final Cut, where Lee's like in the towel. She probably has that scene clipped, and she probably watches it on repeat, like, "Ooh, Lee, take the towel off."
Wow.
Drop the towel, Lee.
Wow.
But no, yeah, Jane is a fan of Lee, big time.
Hey, can you please put up TMF on the marquee, please, at 7:59? Put up TMF. My button. Yeah, toxic. Oh, Jane would launch Lee's Viper. Oh boy.
Oh man.
And Jane, feel free to fire back. Pew pew. Hopefully not Pew Pew die. But yeah, just go ahead and we'll put up your rebuttal in the marquee.
And big shout out to Mackie 90,
Shout out.
one of the best artists in our community, very talented artist, and a great dude and great friend. And thank you for stopping by and hanging
The
out.
mod of Rogue Entertainment. Hail Mackie 90.
Mm-hmm.
And he's actually working on a commission piece for me. So I'm hiring all the artists I can find right now. So Maki's just started on mine.
Wow.
Is it a naked piece of you culture?
I'm not gonna tell. I gotta sell my merchandise somehow.
Well, yeah. Well, hey, look, I want somebody to draw me with hot silent
Mayonnaise
chicks.
diaper.
No, hot silent chicks fanning me and feeding me grapes.
Fucking right. Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
All right, so back to the show. So we have a long scene, and while these guys laugh at the diaper, we're just going to continue. So we cut back to Caprica 6 banging on Adama shooting Sharon's door, following through with Beer's request. This Sharon has resumed living her human life in an apartment with all the human accoutrements, including her fake family photos. Caprica 6 appears to sincerely reach out to the Adama shooting Sharon. Apparition Gaius appears. He tries to provide intel on this Sharon. Caprica 6 tries to tell the Adama shooting Sharon that God often calls people to difficult works. It's a dead end as Gaius pipes up that God isn't a viable conversation for this unit. Caprica 6 presses, saying God loves her. Sharon snaps and shows a photo of her crew, telling 6 that this is what real love is. She cuts Caprica 6 deep by saying that she believed she was human and lived that truth by loving people, and that Caprica 6 lied to people and screwed them. Sharon goes on to say that she deeply regrets betraying her Galactica family and shooting Adama, a man who she deeply loved. She calls herself a lying machine and an effing Cylon. She flips out and smashes a photo into the wall. The glass cuts Caprica 6's face. She checks to see if 6 is okay and apologizes. She goes to get 6 some first aid. But Apparition Gaius reveals that 6 was not struck by the glass. She actually scratched her own face to break the tension and appeal to Adama Sharon's compassionate nature. Gaius calls her out for feigning fear and vulnerability where there is none. He talks 6 through a dialogue where she convinces the Adama Sharon that they are alike. Thoughts in the chat or on the panel?
I would be a total thought for Caprica 6. Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking out loud.
You are so toxic. I cannot believe I'm in this chat with you right now. You're so toxic.
Well, honestly, looking at this episode, good God, did Trisha help her knock it out of the park on this episode?
Yeah.
I mean, her, and so did Grace Park. Like both their mannerisms, just the depth of character that they displayed was just out front and center and on point. I mean, that's even with the action portion of this episode with the some of the resistance stuff. Man, did they really shine. Good God.
You've got two characters that are very different in their approach and their entry into the series and their character arcs, but they both had similar outcomes. They have similar feelings. We were talking about seeing how they went through the downloading process early on, and then their reactions to it. And we've got basically both of these characters still have an attachment to the human element, the humans that they were around. I mean, for different reasons. Like I said, there's two different characters that have been on two different journeys, but they both come to a similar conclusion in which they still feel some connection to humanity and guilt about what they have done. And so you're creating this bond between these two excellent actresses who are really playing these parts so well. You can tell that they're going to be allies at some point in the future. And it may be a trial by fire. It may be a friendship born out of some kind of contention, but there is similarities that even both these characters can't escape, that their perspectives are so similar, even though they've been down different paths.
Well, yeah, and they're also, don't forget, there's something that we didn't touch on, guys, and that's like
Trisha.
that the other people around them in their society are they're celebrities as well, because they're considered the quote unquote heroes of the Cylon.
Right.
They are like, you know, celebrities, so they are in like they have more scrutiny. They are looked up to. They have a pretty fairly high social following because of this. So there's that aspect of it too. So they're actually like living up to a very public reputation as well, and it's quite fascinating just the way that this episode framed the inner workings of the Cylon society. Yeah. And Ruth Korean brings up a good point too. It starts to frame the subplot meta for the rest of the series, and it really does, because you see some brilliant foreshadowing to the events at the end coming up this season of what is going to start into season 3 and why that is coming about. You see the very early stages of why that whole thing, the arc when we get to it with New Caprica comes about. So, all right, let's see. Toxic Man Flu. Oh, Toxic Man Flu actually brought us a Boxy theory. Look at that.
Oh, shit, I ain't had one of these in a minute. Hey.
Stephen, read it with your beautiful deep
Boxy
voice.
theory, confused after being told wax Lee's Viper. Boxy wins a martial arts competition using the wax on, wax off technique.
Hell, Toxic Man Flu.
Can I also give a shout out to Lucy Lawless? We haven't seen her too much in this episode, but man, is she a great Cylon, and a great counterbalance of that cold, mechanical heart that we get from some of the Cylons compared to how these other two characters are feeling. So shout out to Lucy. She does really well in this episode too.
Lucy Lawless is just such a great supporting actress. I mean, she can really lift up a main cast so that they shine while shining herself. She's just so good at it.
It's a rapid departure from Xena, that's for sure.
Well, she's always good with those snarky villainous characters.
Yes,
like she does.
And her natural accent. Oh,
yeah. God. Oh God, Jesus. Jesus Christ, man. Dude,
please talk down to me. I will give you my real name.
Well, she could, man. That lady's like giantess, man. She's a big lady.
Oh man!
Hold me in her arms,
guys.
And call me George.
Show. Yes. Show.
Okay, so now, Stephen is really shining here, though, because he does bring up that sort of lore thing before he got off track and the center of his body started telling the story. But prior to that, the complete
God only gave me enough blood to run one head at a time, Raquel.
That's right, I know. But thank goodness that the preface was so cerebral. Yes, I completely agree, Stephen, and I absolutely love you. Yes, that lull and lore, this sort of good and bad and dark and light, and it's really starting to come through with Six and Boomer now. So let's keep going, okay? We cut to Anders' crew setting explosives. They discuss how killing and reincarnation fatigue will drive the Cylons off Caprica. Now, this is a very short scene, but I'm going to apply the brakes quite liberally here because, I just want to throw this out here. We cut to Anders' crew setting explosives. They discuss how killing and reincarnation fatigue will drive the Cylons off of Caprica. What does the chat think of this, and what do you think of this in the panel? Does this sound like a great plan? Does this sound like a salient argument?
You know what it reminds me of? Honestly, if we go back to the episode, I can't think of the name of it with Scar when the Caprica, or when the Battlestar Galactica was trying to clear out an asteroid field so that they could mine Tillium. And there was only a few raiders left, and they couldn't download again. They were nowhere near a resurrection ship, and that hatred that the one raider had kept in, that they nicknamed Scar, from being killed over and over again and learning those experiences and not being able to do it again, that experience honed it and made it a more efficient killer, a more tactical and thoughtful killer. So that is the flaw in the logic, in my opinion, because you're not going to exhaust these people. You're going to harden them. You're going to damage them psychologically. They're going to come after you with a villainous, frightful lean in how they try to exterminate the resistance on Caprica.
My thoughts exactly, and beautifully said, Stephen. My thoughts exactly. That was also the way that I sort of thought out what he had said. I thought, that doesn't ring true. I didn't feel that would ring true. Anyone else thoughts? Or should we read TMF?
Toxic Man Flu. I think if Culture Casino hadn't stopped them, author Stephen Walton would have shortened out his mic in one shot. Listen, if I stood up, you definitely would have heard it. Okay. But,
oh boy. Boom. He puts the boom in Boomer.
Stephen, put away the pea shooter. Let's keep going.
Culture, any thoughts on this? Did you buy this argument that there would be reincarnation fatigue, or did you feel the same way as Stephen and I felt, that it would actually just enrage them and just concentrate their anger and hate?
I fully agree with both of you. I think that I think that if anything, their tenacity cannot be unappreciated. They are always doggedly pursuing their enemy, and their philosophy is destroy completely, to eliminate any opportunity for them to come back on them. It's not just the attack with greater strength than your enemy to conquer. It essentially eliminate, exterminate, and remove from existence. So I don't think that was a sound strategy. It would have been better to create higher losses rather than the incremental ones that they were doing. So it's just because of the sheer volume. But yeah, I think they had many flaws in that plan, but obviously the most specific one being they're just going to piss them off.
Yeah. So what are we supposed to read inside the text and outside of the text here? So outside of the text, we're looking at the way that the writers have brought this together. And then, of course, we can look at it inside of the text. So are we setting ourselves up to expect that Anders isn't exactly, a brilliant tactician? Or is this just to help move the plot along and give some rationale? What do you think, Stephen? What do you think, Drew? What do you think, Culture?
I think Culture sounds like Max Headroom tonight, and that's very entertaining. I think that I forgot the question. I was staring at my avatar.
We'll keep moving along.
I think that this is kind of more like a little bit of a plot fodder for Anders, because I don't necessarily buy that he was brilliant, as brilliant a tactician. I think the Resistance is more lucky in this vein than good.
Yeah.
And and I also think there's some manipulation there. Now, to be fair, later on, for reasons, we find out that Anders is actually pretty brilliant. But for now, I don't think that is necessarily manifesting.
No, because right now he's putting the poop in nincompoop. So
yes. Yes. But also I think credit has to go to the fact that it really shows the power of teamwork. These guys were a team. They were exercising for I forget what for the pyramids somethings. I'm sorry, I can't remember. Only through that teamwork, camaraderie, interdependency have they survived this long, and to a degree been so lucky.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're like the NBA and the NFL
of domestic terrorists. Yeah, good for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, they were on some sort of NBA NFL.
They were just
They were not involved.
They were doing off-season training, and it was like
high altitude training.
Yeah. And they were they were the champs of all of the colonies. So they definitely competed with more than just half teams. So
they were the New England Patriots of the colonies. I know, exactly.
It's important to point out that writing this way, writing as if you are world building and as though you are creating a text that people will read. This just makes this entire series shine through. This shows the quality, and wow, this quality is sorely lacking in present day with very few exceptions. So yeah, wonderful comments, guys. You want to keep rolling along?
Yeah, I guess we should.
Yes.
Okay, so we cut to the mansion on the lake. It's actually Six, Sharon, and Gaius back at the apartment. Caprica 6 is confessing her love story to the Adama Sharon. 6 tells the Sharon that her attachments to humans kept her from living her life, so she burned her photos and her memories. She tells Sharon that it made her feel liberated, quote unquote. Phantom Gaius calls BS, and he disappears as Caprica 6 tells Adama shooting Sharon that her love, the man, was Gaius Baltar. Sharon realizes that it was Gaius who wiped out humanity. Sharon speaks as though she is truly human. She's sickened. She's outraged. Sharon informs 6 that Gaius is alive on Galactica, and wow, does her jaw ever drop. Caprica 6 is visibly shaken, and that's the end of this scene. Thoughts?
I am definitely a thought for. Oh, I'm sorry, I did that joke. My bad.
So what do you think, guys?
Wonderful scene, wonderful play. I'm prepared to move on. I think I've said pretty much in retro everything that I could say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
Yeah, you're starting to see that there's definitely some intricate sort of politics among the Cylons. You can start to see like, wow, they're really humanized. They function like humans because underneath it all, there is still like that that sort of innate manipulation and jockeying for position in the social structure, and that willingness that some people have to throw one another under the bus to get ahead. It's the classic negative parts of humanity, but it's funny to see the Cylons actually emulating those. And you can see the gamesmanship at play here, because there's gamesmanship between, Boomer and Caprica 6. There's gamesmanship when Deanna's talking to them, because you can clearly see that she's downright manipulating them. So
it seems very high school to me. It's very high school politics to me, and very cliquish. In fact, I think if I remember correctly, it seemed to represent that by different groups of the units, numbers, whatever you want to call them, traveling around together, in different groups, and they convey. That again, we're going back a scene and a half, but they do convey and actually say the words that you are, our first celebrities.
Well, this is a young species. They are trying to figure themselves out. These aren't children.
Agreed.
They very much are humanity's children.
Yep. Agreed. Yep. Shall we? Let's keep
Sure.
going, guys. Let's go to the next scene. So we cut to Galactica. It's the senior staff discussing what to do and about the toaster tot. It's Rosalind, Adama, Gaius, and Ty. They discuss how the toaster tot is a danger to the fleet, giving the Cylons a hybrid they obviously have a plan for, and informing the hidden Cylons of the toaster tot Messiah. Red 6 appears to counsel Gaius about how he will have to save their baby. And that's the end of that scene. Any thoughts here, or shall we keep going?
No, go ahead. It's pretty much you could tell that they're gonna put together a contingency, but you know, clearly we know that more oftentimes than not is it's it's going to probably wind up with the child surviving. So, you know, you start to see that the subplot for that is weaving together too. That there's going to be a big purpose for the child.
For me, I was struck by the fact that, of course, as you folks know, many of you know, I lived immersed in the Greek culture for many, many, many years, and of course, I've done a little bit of studying of world religions in university. So for me, I think it's just wonderful that so much, especially as an agnostic, is being brought to bear here as far as these world religions go. And it's just Ronald D. Moore and his team of writers. I just really like the fact that we're starting to get into this Old Testament territory, whereas we were just with some Jainism and some Hinduism and some Buddhism. And I just think that it's wonderful because there is so much illusion in this show, and it's used to such great effect. It's such a great authorial device, and it is used with an expert hand in this series. And I think that this episode is an exemplification of it. I found that scene very interesting and intriguing, especially given, of course, the other scenes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well said.
Okay, let's keep rolling, guys. We have some rapid cuts, and you guys know SD always talks about this. These rapid cuts are trying to bring us up to speed, so let's get brought up to speed. We cut to Sharon at the Toaster Tots incubator. Hilo is there. They bond over how Hilo is starting to believe in the Cylon god. Sharon is delighted by his budding conversion. Then we cut to Anders' attack. The team loads out in a parking garage. Then we cut to a cafe. It's wall-to-wall Cylons in heavy repetition. Caprica 6, now behaving a little more sincerely, asks with help of Gaius why Beers asked Caprica 6 to counsel Adama shooting Sharon. Knowing that both units, and presumably now all the subsequent downloads, were struggling with loyalty for the humans. They try to unpack Beers' angle and strategy when Beers abruptly pops down in front of their cafe table. It is awkward. Caprica 6 and Adama Sharon try to cover, but Gaius sees through Beers and ejects. They don't want Sharon cured. They're going to box her. Then we cut very briefly to Anders' team setting the bomb below the cafe. Then we cut back to 6 saying Sharon is showing progress by agreeing to move out of the apartment she lived in as a human. Sharon plays along. Beers seems surprised and asks when she plans on moving out. Beers says, perhaps now. The women agree to clean out Sharon's human apartment, or when she believes she was a human, and leave, and they go and do just that. Then we cut to Anders prepping the fuse. Then we cut back to the Cylon women making their way to the apartment. Lots of scenes, guys. Anything to discuss here?
Yeah. Again, there's that ever present like threat of manipulation going on because Deanna's doing it in the sense of she's siding with the other hierarchy of the Cylons that doesn't want the eights around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that it's super scary when Gaius ejects. They have no plans on rehabilitating her, and then you sort of see that 6 is not being involved with rehabilitating Sharon. That's not what's happening here.
Confirmation provided.
It's that they're trying to figure out if she's as boxable, right? Because that would be the only reason to bring these two pseudo women together, is to sort of ferret one another out. So I thought it was pretty spine tingling. My spine did not glow, but at that point I was kind of grossed out. I was like, wow, this is diabolical, right?
Stop trying to cancel the Asians and the blondes. Stop.
Yes, pretty much, right? Any thoughts, Culture?
Well, I think that to me it was fairly clear what they were trying to do from the beginning to suss them out, but or to have it be done jointly. This scene was interesting because the fact that they knowingly are looking at each other to agree with this plan from this person that I don't like, beers or whatever. And then going onward into what's about to happen. I thought it was a great setup for the next scene.
Yeah.
Well, you have to pretty much figure that obviously and this is something that you guys will probably have to do your personal research for, chat. Like if you look up the plan, and that's something you kind of want to watch after you watch the entirety of the series. But you can tell that, like, especially like when you look back in an episode like this, if you had watched the plan, Cabell's most definitely got his fingerprints all over this, because you can see like the machinations and everything else, trying to turn the sixes in the favor of getting rid of the eights, so on and so forth. Yeah, it's you could see everything setting up. But
I'm not going to dive into Cavill, but I thought you're totally right. I think he's the eldest of the models, in my opinion, as far as intellect and direction. But I don't want to get too much into that character. I love that character, but
I mean, because this episode really isn't about him, but you can see the greater ripples, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
You see the bigger ripples in the lake here.
Yes.
Because his machinations are all over it.
Yeah.
Pebble in the pond, and it's going to create a wave for sure, right?
And if you're like me, no matter how many times you watch this episode, a lesbian trifecta is not going to happen. You got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah. All right. So go ahead, continue, Raquel.
Okay, so we have 2 short scenes, and then we have a long one. So I'll just do the 2 short scenes. So we cut to Anders, who hears the women moving about in the elevator area. Then a Centurion enters the garage. Beers appears to know what's unfolding. She sort of smirks sheepishly, and I'm wondering why. Then Anders takes cover behind a nearby car. The Centurion approaches the bomb. Anders opens fire, and then the bomb goes off. Then we cut to the president's ship. She's having a meeting with Coddle. It's a private meeting, obviously. Rosalind wants the toaster tot placed discreetly into the care of an adoptive human parent. And then Foster gives him a list of names. So Foster says, look, pick somebody from this list. And Rosalind and Foster have obviously vetted this list. Any thoughts on these 2 scenes?
I'm actually kind of disgusted at that whole event, hiding a child from his mother.
Yeah.
Her mother. I understand what Rosalind's doing. She's a strong leader. I'm a fan of all these characters. Mary McDonald plays a very cold-hearted bitch in this whole scenario. I don't like it. I actually lean more toward Doc Coddle, where he's reluctantly facilitating this, this endeavor. But no, this came off as really cold-blooded to me. Kind of pissed me off, to be honest.
Yeah, it did. I agree with you, Steven. Like, I was not a fan of that.
Well, it's because Drew, you're looking at. See, this is the great thing about the writing of this show. You're getting humanized reactions from the toasters, and you're getting very cold, calculated, computer-like reactions from the leader of the humans.
Yes. And isn't it a wonderful, wonderful thing
Yeah, it's delicious irony, really.
Well,
Yeah.
this is why whenever I'm asked to appear to talk about Star Trek, one of the episodes I love to talk about, and I'm not going to digress here. I'm just going to make a short point, and that is The Devil in the Dark. And of course, when my daughter was quite young, she said, "Mom, The Devil in the Dark, is that a scary episode?" And I said, "No, sweetheart. Sit down and watch it. The Devil in the Dark is us."
Mm-hmm.
And so this scene is very reminiscent of that, because of course we're getting a reflection, and it's not very good. It sort of feels very Dorian Gray. You're looking in the reflection and you're thinking to yourself, wow, is this who we really are? Any thoughts, Culture?
No, wow. No, you guys are being far more eloquent in pinpointing all of the things that are going on in this particular episode.
You'll be all right.
No, that's your thing. No, I think you can't overstate the fact that the humans are acting more like a calculating machine than they are really human. And it's a really weird place to be, because, it seems like, okay, so we're anthropomorphizing people that are humans playing machines, trying to be human-like. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm stuck in a weird place. So, but that was my takeaway from it. So like I said, but you guys said it far more eloquently. So.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. Okay, well, guys, if that's good for this scene, we have a bit of a long scene, and I'll get started on it. What do you say?
All right, sounds great.
All right, so we cut to the bombed parking garage. Six is buried in rubble. Beers is just fine. She checks on Sharon, who also appears unharmed. They unbury a seriously injured Six. Beers offers to kill her. Yeah. Six refuses. Beers is disappointed. Clearly, a respect for life is what the writer intends to highlight here. Beers has none. Sharon resets Six's compound fracture. It's quite gruesome. They look for a way out. They uncover Anders. Beers kicks him unconscious. Beers says, "He set the bomb. Humans have no respect for life." Oh, ho, ho. The hypocrisy and hubris is laid bare. Sharon prevents Beers from shooting Anders. Six stands up for Sharon and says not to kill the human. Gaius appears and asks why she wants to spare the life of one man after murdering billions of people. Here's where we see distinctly that Gaius may be Six's conscience, a figment of her own imagination. As the apparition says, she has no conscience, but she clearly does. Six tells Beers to save Anders for interrogation. This scene is a little weird because Beers bums a gun the size of a Ford Pinto and then checks Anders' dog tags. Their car traces tags. Sharon is shocked to see a piece of Starbuck on the man. Beers explains that Kara was on Caprica a few weeks back and escaped with the help of another Sharon unit. Moved by Kara's gesture to Anders, Six professes her love to Gaius. But wow, hey, that gun was really big, and Lucy's so small. It was like the size of her thigh, and she just shoved it.
Yeah, I wonder, like, he just randomly had a Desert Eagle. I'm like, what the hell?
Dude! You know? Is that a tank in your butt crack there, Lucy? Like, I mean, she knows how to wield a weapon, obviously, right? The woman knows exactly what she's doing, but it's just you see the gun and she just pops it in her butt crack. Like, it's just, it was very distracting.
Some quick shout outs to the chat. We got Polly Latino Slant dropped in, man. What's up, Polly? Great to see you, buddy. Apollo Patriot, my favorite simp for blue toilets. What's up? Great to see you.
Oh, Polly, hold on, man. I got one for you. There you go, buddy.
Parrot Head, I love you. Thank you. I work really hard on these summaries because I want us all to be able to enjoy the subject matter and the material together as a community. So thank you for the shout out. I do love you so much. Thank you.
And we also get to hear words like toaster tot. I'm dying every time she says that.
So any remnants on this scene? There's a lot going on here, right? I just the gun the size of the Ford Pinto going in Lucy Lawless's butt crack. It's distracting for me. I may have derailed this train, and I apologize, gentlemen.
You know,
You create a pea shooter incident for Steven, but I think it was fine.
All right, let's roll along. So we cut to the infirmary. The baby Cylon has died. I will not use toaster tot now that we've come to a somber close. Caudle tells Sharon and Hilo that her lungs were just too underdeveloped. Sharon accuses Caudle of killing the baby. Sharon tries to kill Caudle. She's taken away by MPs. Then we cut to the chief and Hilo releasing the cremated remains into space. And it's very odd because they sort of twinkle, and then you think to yourself, what's inside of a Skinner? Yeah. Okay, so then we cut to Gaius and Red 6. She's pissed the baby is dead. 6 says the baby was the Cylon Messiah. She assaults Gaius and says revenge will follow. Here we are clearly shown that the apparition is not a figment of Gaius's conscience. Or is it? And we really go back and forth here on this. Are there any comments here on these apparitions, these phantoms, these visitations? Sometimes they're physical, and you think, well, okay, that person's batshit crazy, and they're just imagining it. And then other times you're thinking, wow, is there a chip in this person's head?
Well, to go back to actually one scene before, that scene with Sharon, that made me pro Cylon, because I completely understand her feelings, and they were leading up to the fact that they might have aborted the child before they allowed it to be born, and then it was born, and then it dies. Like something is wrong. She knows it as a motherly instinct, even from a machine character. That motherly instinct understands that there is something wrong, even though she believes it's much more dire than what it is. So at that point, like I'm like, fuck the humans. Yeah. And as far as the apparitions, the only thing I think is that is just the best interactive masturbation I could have ever asked for. So I'm very down, very, very down with those characters.
No, they're you know what's funny though is and this is God, I don't want to derail the show, but you know this is going into territory of like stuff you would listen to on like Coast to Coast AM late at night, where people, you know, where there's been guests on and discussed things like angels and whatnot, and there are at times physical interactions that people have described, you know, where they felt like a brush across their skin, a touch, something like that. So, you know, who's to say that that's not something that is tangible? We don't know because you know, people have had unique experiences in that vein. So yeah, I the fact that they use things like that in here, it just like shows me that you know, that Ronald D. Moore and David Icke were very forward thinking, and to bring something in there that was like out there on the fringe, because that people talk about on you know, late night paranormal radio. I mean, it's
well, no, Drew, give yourself a little more credit than that, because as an agnostic, I'm going to chime in here that Socrates gave quite a convincing speech in his apology that outlined that you know, he had a daemon, or perhaps he had a daemon, and you know, is that your conscience? Is that your soul? Is that you know, this thing that exists inside of you, or is this some type of visitation? So you know, it's not just the paranormal that believe that, and here Ronald D. Moore and his team create an all-inclusive resort where of religion, of course, and non-religion, where you can entertain whether or not these apparitions or these phantoms are indeed material, or whether they're completely happening within that person's mind.
Well said, Raquel.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
All right. Let's roll out Taki's next boxing theory.
Boxy theory. After hours of sitting and staring at his avatar, Boxy stands up on numb legs and stumbles to Boomer's Viper's launch tube, forcing him to join the cult of grace.
Are you sure that wasn't Steven, TMF? Because I know Steven would definitely join the cult.
Yeah.
High priest.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would be the high priest of the cult.
You know the Roof Korean brought up a very fascinating point, and I want to highlight this because I know it was a little earlier, but did anyone find it odd that the toasters were pruning bushes and cleaning up Caprica while Cylons were almost LARPing as humans? And yeah, the thing that I think that illustrates Roof is just the different layers of programming that the Cylons have. Like they're programmed to really, you could see that they're programmed to really emulate humans, and obviously that's carried on for a long time, and and it's just even to the most mundane things like pruning and doing things like that, doing the little things that humans would do, but yet they're so different, and that's why I think that scene spoke volumes. So
Well, it's a microcosm of
Yeah.
of humanity. Really from kind of like an anthropological standpoint. You've got two different races. One is subordinate, and stronger, because the toasters, they're built for war. They are stronger. They are, I don't want to say Neanderthals, but they're strong. They're built. They're hardened. And then you've got the more intelligent or more creatively thinking, the human models of the Cylons. And so you see that there's a hierarchy involved here. There's a tier system of citizenship within their structure, their social structure. And it doesn't necessarily favor the stronger of the two, just the smarter of the two. But they treat the older models like slaves. They are servants, even though they are basically the same on the inside. They're just fashioned differently. They're the human models are more upgraded. So you see that even though you have this society of machines who think that they are more enlightened, more philosophically, religiously, spiritually, in every way, yet they still are tethered to a very human tradition of subjugating other species, subjugating even if those species are the same race as them, even if it's the same type of people. Slavery, basically. That's what it says to me.
For me, Ruth Korean, if I could answer, excellent response from Drew and of course my friend Stephen. If I could offer my interpretation of that, I would ask you, I don't want to turn this into a grad school seminar, but I would turn you to look up the simulacrum, the word simulacrum, and it deals with these higher ideas of simulating society, why you would want to simulate society, and whether or not the genuine article is important to maintain society. You have the aura of the real, and then you have the hyper real. So I don't want to turn it into a grad seminar, but
no, but could you put that word in the private chat? I'd like to look at that
yes,
later.
Certainly. So
Thank
you can look up the word simulacra, or you can look up the word simulacrum, and it won't take you long to read through it. You could probably even get a reliable explanation through a Wikipedia article, and go ahead and look that up, because that's starting to get into the meat of your thoughts. I'm sorry, I will grab your handle again. Roof Korean 92. And just let me put that in there for Stephen.
Thank you. I will check that out later, Raquel.
Okay. I'll just click that there.
Right. Yeah. So Wonderful discussion tonight. And
Yeah,
boobs.
this is.
And boobs.
This is.
So I'm happy. This is a sauce for the goose, Mr. Savick.
Oh, Stephen.
Sauce for the goose. Oh, I love you. I can't believe you just said that. Thank you. Quoting Spock, I love you. Okay. Shall we continue, gentlemen? Or no,
Yeah.
Culture, would you like to Culture, would you like to respond to Roof Korean's comment about this sort of simulating human behavior and who they would be doing it for? Why simulate human behavior if you know you're not human? Roof Korean thinks that this is an intellectual and emotional conundrum. What are your thoughts, Culture?
Well, I know that we get into this far deeper into the series when another character is introduced. But ultimately, I mean, there are Cylons who believe that this type of activity and this pursuit of trying to be human or act human is illogical, so to speak. They take the Spock version of of things, to steal from Star Trek. But it's one of those things that I don't know that I could explain better than you did already, Raquel, without destroying too much of what's coming in the future.
I understand.
So,
yeah, I know you're not a spoiler. So then let's just move on, shall we, gentlemen?
Okay.
Thank you so much for that wonderful, thought-provoking comment, Roof Korean 92. Great comment. Thank you so much. Okay, so here in this next scene, we have 1, 2 really super short scenes and then a mega long scene. So I'll do my best and interrupt me if you want to talk about it. So we cut to an absolute unequivocal Moses moment. The toaster tot is gifted to a human mother who is childless. Maya, the mother, the new mother, swears absolute confidentiality, believing the child was abandoned. Then we cut to Rosalind thanking Coddle. Then we cut to another scene. We cut to the destroyed parking garage. Beers, Adama Sharon, Caprica 6, and Anders. Beers, in an Australian accent, oh, it's too detectable here, tells Sharon that she is just a broken machine. Beers tells Sharon she'll never be human. Sharon fires back that Beers is a murderer. Sharon full out says she has a conscience and a moral compass. Gaia says to Caprica 6, and this is just quite beautiful. I was quite impressed because, of course, this is not allusion. This is not a quote. This is written directly by the folks from Battlestar Galactica. Just lovely. Life is short, but the next one's not. Let your heart adrift and your soul will get caught. Believe the lies, ignore the truth. Listen to me, I'll show you proof. Speak from your heart, say the things you know to be true. Wow. Unbelievable, so good. And then Caprica professes her love. Gaia says they are going to box her and Sharon. So here he keeps driving this home, that it's inevitable for them. Cap 6 confronts Beers about this. Beers wants the two heroes of the Cylons boxed for their pro-human views. 6 deduces that Beers put Caprica 6 and Sharon together to ferret out one another for their love for humans. Beers interrupts and says they are corrupted. Of course, speaking to them as though they are files. This is the diction here is just absolutely wonderful on behalf of the writing team. They are corrupted, right? Cap 6 recites their cardinal sins as Anders eyes a gun on the floor. Sharon joins Cap 6 in saying they'll be boxed to cover up and prevent the idea of what the Cylons did was a mistake. The encroaching Cylon rescue sends debris flying, and Anders makes for the gun. There is a struggle, and Anders winds up at gunpoint. About to execute Anders, Beers says, God loves me. Cap 6 bludgeons Beers to death from behind with a Star Trek prop-sized piece of cement. It's very, very original Star Trek. It's just a giant hunk of cement, as Granny Clampett would say on the Beverly Hillbillies.
But you see like her crazy strength, man. You see, because you could see one thing that is a recurring theme. I mean, you see the Cylons have different feats of strength during the series, and they're pretty fairly adept at hand-to-hand combat, but always like Six stands out because she's like the queen of the combat models, and she just like she just takes that big like piece of cement and just whack, and like a couple of hits and Deanna's done. Her skull's caved in. She's no more.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's it's pretty bad. But very, very large rock, very, very large piece of cement, as Granny Clampett would say. And she just ends her just brutally. She doesn't even care, doesn't even show the slightest bit of remorse or even hesitates. There's no hesitation, just.
Yeah, forget that powerful crack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Anders can't believe that Cap 6 and Adama Sharon set him free with Kara's dog tags and Beer's giant butt gun. He takes off before the Centurion rescue. Cap 6 and Adama Sharon discuss how Beer's download will be slowed by all the downloads from the units who died in the cafe. Now, this is very important here, folks, because this could have very likely have been a plot hole. Here we have some writers taking each other to task about the way that they're going to make sure that the story doesn't have any continuity errors. So this is quite lovely, that the download's going to take a long time because they offed so many people in the cafe. So that cafe scene could have happened out on the street. It could have been much more random. They either added it before or afterwards, so that the level of carnage would create a sort of like a pause on Beer's downloading into another body, and of course coming for revenge.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Toxic Man Flu, Boxy Theory. Turning to the dashing hunk sex machine, Toxic Man Flu. Boxy says, "It's going to be okay, Tox. Miss Briggs and Drew are back. It's good to be home again."
Oh my God, Toxic Man Flu, I love you so much.
That is very sweet.
You are such a good wrench. You do such great wrench work, and you light up a chat, sir. You are a hysterical person, and I love how you care for others, and you are so gregarious. Sometimes I see you in chats, and you've got 6 people talking, and you're just great to have around. You are a great friend, and we appreciate you so much, TMF. Love you.
Toxic Man Flu is as much a part of the fourth wave as I think anybody else, because he's always been in the chat, supportive of all our channels and all our shows. We love having him around, man. Thank you so much for being a part of this community.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so back to the text. We now know that there are enough dead that they have 36 hours before Beers comes back and the download begins, and she knows everything that's going on, right? Sharon pledges to change the Cylon world for the better. Phantom Gaius appears to profess his hot, sexy love for Cap 6. Cap 6 says the Cylons need a new beginning, a new way to God's love, without hate, without all the lies. Sharon watches intently. They make a pact as the Cylon rescue team arrives. Then we cut to Mama Toaster Tot Maya gazing out onto the fleet. She's in a Raptor. I think it's a Raptor. A small vessel. The ship leaves the fleet with the Toaster Tot in tow. So, thoughts, gentlemen, on this amazing episode?
Oh, I mean, for me, and it's like I said earlier, aside from watching the plan, which every BSG fan should do when you get done watching the series, this episode is definitely the one of the definitive looks into what the Cylons are, who they are, their culture, their cultural makeup, their society, and it's very fascinating. Sort of trashy, manipulative politics aside, I mean, it's a fascinating look at the Cylons, and that is I think is what's great because you can see that sort of transition. And I always give proper credit to Ron Moore, for the stuff he learned from being so masterful with Deep Space Nine.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the fact that, if you recall, as a Star Trek fan, we got so much fleshing out of the Klingons and the understanding of them and their society. Well, it almost mirrors that with that of the Cylons when, you really get an in-depth look at their society. And that's what I think is great, because when you have somebody that understands how to world build and bring forth the aspects of a whole culture, to explain that there's just in this big universe, there's not just one group. It's really awesome when you have writing that extols that, and I was very impressed with this episode. It's actually one of my favorites of season 2, because these are all starting to get very good, as Culture Casino said, even the one-offs. Because this season, by far, is probably my most favorite season of Battlestar in the entire show, is season 2. It's my personal favorite. But
I thought that it was very interesting, and I'm sorry to interrupt for just one second, but I don't want to get too far away from it. I thought that it was quite interesting that you brought up Star Trek, because of course Ronald D. Moore wrote for Star Trek, and Battlestar Galactica is his baby. And if I were running a comparative literature class, and we were of course looking at film, I would line this text up with The Measure of a Man. And
Yes.
because I agree with Stephen's synopsis that he provided very early on, in this sort of he compassionated the villain, the foe, the machine. And here we're starting to see that you can argue The Measure of a Man as though we control the machine, we control the AI, but you can flip that rhetoric on its head, and you can just show the danger of the AI, and whether or not the AI is sentient by just simply how we abuse it. And so, really, really love your comments when they're overlapped with Stephen, because here we see Measure of a Man done in a completely different way. How does humanity deal with artificial intelligence, and what does it say about us? So excellent, Drew. Love that you brought up Star Trek.
Yeah, I as I've always said, and I used to point out on the old Pegasus actual forums when we had those, one of the discussions when this very episode aired, I pointed out the parallel of, if you take the two series side by side, you take Deep Space Nine and you take this show, you can see the parallels are uncanny, as far as where it went and how the brand of storytelling is, and that's great, because that's what made that arguably the most well-written Star Trek show, because there's a lot of people that say, oh, TNG was written well. Yeah, it was in spots, but as far as consistency, Deep Space Nine by far is the superior show when you take TNG and Deep Space Nine together. It's the best show of the TNG era.
The whole era. It's the best show of the whole era. You're talking about character building. You're talking about building the Cardassians from the ground up, taking a couple episodes in TNG and building an entire society around an entire antagonistic society, which who in turn becomes almost the victim of their own ideals. Under the leadership of Dukat. You're talking about the Bajorans. You only got a few episodes. I mean, a great episodes in TNG about the Bajorans, but they were built. You had an entire society built around them. Then you had
the Klingons.
Well, the Klingons were already pretty much established, but they did quite embellish and bring them into and worked well with all of those different peoples.
They fleshed them out, though.
They did. They did, but I mean, I can make an argument. Yeah, I'm not even going to argue it, but yeah. But then you look at the fact founders in that society, this is a society of people that are not, they're not organic people in the way that we would think of it. They don't reproduce, they don't consume, they don't do things that every other species in that universe does, yet they were still able to create a believable, unique type of societal structure based on an alien that was completely out of the carbon-based life, bipedal as we know it. So I really enjoyed that. Back to what with Battlestar, it's a commentary on religion, spirituality, philosophy, human beings, humanity, how it treats one another. It's artificial intelligence, whether or not you can classify that as a species in itself, like Raquel says. So like it's wonderfully written. Like the whole show is beautiful. This episode is one of my favorites as well. Because of the turning about, the flipping of the roles. In my opinion, really the flipping of roles from the perspective of the Cylons, which is great because you need to build up a great antagonist in order to have good protagonists. Yeah. And it was well done because by the end of this episode, I was like, F the humans.
Yeah.
So
everyone in the chat, I just want to interrupt Stephen for 1 second.
Oh, sure, good.
For everyone in the chat, I thought it was very interesting that Stephen said something quite profound and something that a very good writer would say. And I would just like to highlight it quickly before he keeps going. And that is that he said some of these characters, some of these species, they don't have any food to eat. We don't get to know them through Gach. We don't get to know them through the rats in the DS9 mechanics and on the ships and things like that.
Oh, the voles.
Yeah, the voles. we don't get to know them through drink and through Klingon opera. We don't have any of that. And so sometimes it's a greater task to write a species through a philosophical lens, through behavior. These people do not eliminate and defecate. They don't take in sustenance. All there is soul. And inasmuch Stephen has said something profoundly intelligent and profoundly inside an author's head, inside of a writer's head. So when you consider this text, I hope that Stephen's comment will ring in your mind, because we do not get to know these Cylons through the typical authorial means. There is something much deeper, something much more cerebral and beautiful happening here. So anyway, Stephen, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I thought that was just great. So please continue, and I apologize.
No, don't apologize. You're very eloquent, and you take my ramblings and through a wonderful lens. No, that's basically all I had to say. You didn't interrupt me. I was actually quite done. Thank you, sweetie.
All right. Well, so with that, we had a question from the chat, and Parrothead says Stephen, Drew, Raquel, and I'm sure he throws culture in there as well. As writers and or editors, what would you add or change about the series? Now, I didn't have a problem with the series as a whole so much as a couple of the character endings and a little bit of the way that the finale went.
Yep. And
we'll, and you'll get our full thoughts on that as we make our way to that event once we get to that, because, oh God, we'll all have thoughts on that. But there's very few things, honestly, that you would have to change about this series, because the lead up to the finale was perfect. This was written well, everything else. And, this episode we're speaking of tonight perfectly encapsulates the great technical level that the writing is at. Yes. And I think that it really shows just what an all-star team of a writer's room that they had back at that time. So other than some of the ways that some of the things they did in the finale, I was fine with the writing leading up to. So I had zero problems with it, because if you look through the whole thing, technically there's not a whole lot of continuity issues or things of that nature. There's little things here and there, but there's nothing major that sticks out.
Yeah.
You know, it's very fluid the whole way through, and that's what I respect about this.
Yeah.
And just to toss a score on it, because no, I'm gonna go ahead and throw my score in on this episode. I give this absolutely an 8.5.
Mm-hmm. Lovely. Culture.
I think it's.
Tell us what you
Oh,
think,
go ahead.
sir. What would you add or change about the series, sir?
Oh no, I wouldn't change. I wouldn't change to this point in the series. It wouldn't change very much. There's a couple of episodes that I considered filler. I think I was pretty clear on the ones that we went by that I thought were a little bit of wasted time, but that's okay. You're going to get that in every single show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the one-offs are fine, but this particular episode was really well done. I scored a little lower than Drew at about an 8. The writing is brilliant. I don't like Beers, played by Lucy Lawless, at all, and that's okay. I'm not supposed to.
Well, she's a good heel, dude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh no, please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Please don't. But yeah, no, she's an incredible actress, but she never was given like all the roles that she should have had. Anyway, that's just an opinion on my part. But this episode is very well written, and I love the fact that you're starting to see. Well, we talked a little bit about the role reversal, you know, about 2/3 of the way through, but you're really starting to see just, you know, how different how they're going about reaching their humanity, and at the same time where the humans are kind of retracting or backing away from it, and it'll go on further as the show progresses. But I did love the fact that they went farther or deeper depth into the spirituality of the Cylons. This fit very well in the storytelling, especially the part where Hera is allowed to be born, but it's concealed from Hera's parents. You know, all of these things, you know, because the Cylons are duplicitous, obviously, and so are the humans. I mean, it shows the duplicity, right? So, I mean, there's so many different parallels here that can be drawn, and I think that's the brilliance of the writing here, is that they put it on display in a beautiful way, just how very alike the creators are as their creation.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, Culture, but I just want to say I want to give you a big hug, you big beautiful man, because you have one of the most beautiful minds that I know, and I am so God honored to be your friend, man. Because
Say no homo.
when you say shit like this, it's just like bam, on point.
Well, thank you. I like I said, I probably am merely or very similarly parroting what Raquel said, but or perhaps we just are along the same lines. But I just feel like I said, these are the things that I feel about the show. And Drew, that was overly emphatic. I'm uncomfortable right now. I'm gonna have to resolve.
He's got a chubby casino.
Steven, please respond to, was it Parrot Head or was it Toxic Man?
Parrot Head.
Yeah, it's Parrot
Yeah, Parrot Head. He asked a question, and I would love it if you would please take the floor and respond.
What happened to Boxy? What happened to Boxy? Huh? That's why we've got an entire chat of people giving Boxy theories, because they didn't tell us what happened to Boxy. So yes, that I would have changed that. For God's sakes, give Boxy some kind of validation for his existence. This series is really great. There's not too much that I would change. Filler episodes are necessary in order to flesh out characters sometimes. So I don't mind them too much, although I do like action-oriented storylines. The ending of the series I would have done differently. The one thing that bothers me the most is we get episodes early here in the second season or mid-second season where we see that the Cylons have taken over many of these planets that they've destroyed, that they've driven the humans away from.
Yes.
And by the end of the series, they don't talk about it. It's a big gaping loophole for me, something that I think another entire series could be generated from. And that would be the only real big criticism that I could give. Other than that, I think the character developments are wonderful. I think I would have liked for Gaius Baltar's redemption arc into a more accepting character to have been better, but I have to commend the writers for keeping a character who has many undesirable traits, remaining consistent with those traits throughout the several changes that he goes through throughout the series, and even into the end when he becomes slightly heroic, or there is a redemption of a kind that happens with his character. It's still the same guy. You know, you could go back to the first season and still see the same guy that you can in the final episode. So, I mean, kudos to that. Although I personally would have made it a little bit more. I would have redeemed him a little bit more. Other than that, you know, maybe some technical changes here and there throughout the series. But honestly, this show to me is one of the closest things to science fiction cinematic perfection that I've ever seen, ever been pleased to witness. So I wouldn't want to touch it at all, really. I mean, even the end that I don't really like all that much, don't really understand that ending all too much. Even that is not inconsistent. It's just a direction that I would not have gone in. I still respect it because of the wonderful creativity that went into the series, and the actors and the cast and the staff, everybody from the set designers up. So I wouldn't want to change anything. But thank you, Parrot Head. Thank you for that question. I give this episode. Give this episode an 8. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut anybody off. I just wanted to say I gave the episode an 8.
No, you're allowed to cut me off whenever you want. I didn't realize you were going to give a rating. Sometimes you don't. Give her.
Well, sometimes I'm a taker, you know, and you know.
All right, Raquel, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to answer Parrot Head. I think that this is television, and when you put it in that frame, this is probably the best television since the original series for me. And you're seeing why in this episode. You know, it's very clear that Ronald D. Moore and his writing team have read Frankenstein. And I know in popular culture that when you say Frankenstein, most people think of Boris, or was it Boris Karloff who played him? And, you know, with the big bolts in his neck and all of that. And of course, that's not who Frankenstein is. Frankenstein is, in fact, a doctor in a book called The Modern Prometheus. And it was, of course, the first work of science fiction that humans made. And so here in Frankenstein, The Modern Prometheus, we see Mary Shelley, whose parents were very philosophical and very politically active, teach us to compassionate a daemon and to sort of be like, I hate to get too literary, but kind of like Mumford, to sort of say to ourselves, well, let's even just look at the modern Prometheus. Let's look at the Prometheus mythos from Greek mythology. You know, we as human beings, we're using our powers to devise mechanization, and then in turn, those creations can become divine and devilish. They can do both things. And in so doing, we have to take responsibility for our actions. So for me, when I hear another writer like Stephen say something like, at this point, I'm completely going for the Cylons. For me, as a writer and as a teacher, the first thing I start thinking of is the modern Prometheus and this whole idea of compassionating our creations and how we tend to tinker and reach out and do these things without thinking about our actions first. You know, like Stephen Hawking would say to us, you know, we reach out, but we're not thinking about what might reach back. And what might reach back might not be what we think. And so we have to consider this when we're playing God. And of course, that's what Mary Shelley was getting at when she penned The Modern Prometheus, our first science fiction. So because it is like our first science fiction, our first work of science fiction, I absolutely love this show and think there is no better television show other than the original series Star Trek. And I do partake in a rating, and I will give this sucker a 9 because, wow, very much like The Modern Prometheus, written by Mary Shelley, and very much about compassionating the daemon, which is to look what we've created, and we know that we made it evil, and then we have to deal with it.
Well said. I'd also like to give a shout out to Jane Theory. You said you're sick of the humans. What about Prince Lee? Huh? What? You're turning on Lee Adama now? One thing, be consistent.
And I just want to say that I also take responsibility. Just so you know.
Good. I'm glad you do. You should.
Oh boy. Okay, everyone at home with DNA tests for culture, just, go ahead and send the DNA test. He's taking responsibility publicly.
All right.
Candy Corn Casino.
Just real quick, this was filmed in Vancouver. I think, it was entirely filmed in Vancouver. And it's pretty awesome.
I so stopped myself from saying if the one change I could make would be more nipples. I did stop myself from saying that because it was on.
No, you didn't.
It was on. Well, I didn't before, but I was
said it.
No, well, no. This is a postscript. This isn't really a part of the.
No.
Nipples are great. More nipples would be wonderful.
God, I love you.
Are just. My body is not my shame. And
That's
also
right.
my body is not exclusively sexual. So free the boobies.
Absolutely. Free those nipples.
Oh, and TMF 915, please. Can we please just put up TMF 915?
More side boob. I mean, toxic. Hail, brother. Hail.
Just more boobs in general. But
this show is sexy anyway, honestly. And given the venue, I get it. If you had put this, if this had been like a Starz series or an HBO series, absolutely would have
been all over.
But
it would have been naked. It would have been butt naked. Come on, True Blood was butt naked. The same time frame.
Given the story, given the wonderful story that was put together from the original Battlestar, which I love, and I wish it had gotten more seasons because there was an idea that could have been laid out over several seasons that I think it would have been the best thing we've seen on TV. The ideas, the concepts, everything. I love the original series, but I
would have loved to, Stephen. I would have loved to have Richard Hatch, God rest his soul. Man, I would have loved for him.
That Battlestar series from 99 or 2000 that was going to come out. Yeah, absolutely.
For him to have gotten a shot, it would have been awesome.
But even though he didn't, he still was given a part. Yeah. And an impactful one, a great part.
Oh God,
it wasn't Apollo, but man,
the Zarek character, as we've seen so far, I mean, is outstanding.
Outstanding. The people that they have to come in just for an episode or two, outstanding, wonderful actors who have been in many different sci-fi films who love this genre. Okay, so that's why, like, I know my standard. I don't mean to be hypocritical, guys. I know my standard is, boobs make the world go round, but. When you look at this show and how well it was produced, acted, written, designed, everything for the forethought that's put into it, it's an exception to the rule for me. It's a very beautiful piece of science fiction, piece of art. So, although I love it,
really is.
Science fiction, it's a beautiful piece of science fiction. It's a beautiful piece of art.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Lovely. Love you, Stephen. Love you. Man, have I ever missed you, sweetheart.
I missed you too, hon.
All right. Lady Torio, great to see you.
Oh, hey. So happy
awesome. Thank you for stopping by. All right. We are closing in on a 2-hour mark. So we're kind of going to go around the horn. Let everyone plug their channels, and we'll let you guys know what we got coming up for next week, which is going to be exciting. As Culture most eloquently went and alluded to earlier in this episode, we are closing in on the finale of season 2. So next week we will have part 1 of that season 2 finale, which is Lay Down Your Burdens part 1, season 2, episode 19. And then, of course, the continuation will be season 2, episode 20. Very good finale for season 2, and it sets up a a really good and interesting premise for season 3 as we get into the new Caprica saga and everything surrounding that. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to closing this season out because again the finale for season 2 was just awesome. So we're gonna have fun with that over these next couple weeks. Want to wish everyone a happy Halloween, and of course my beautiful mom's birthday is also on Halloween. So
Happy birthday, Mama.
give
Happy birthday, Mama.
give public air to my mom for a big happy birthday from all of us. So, all righty. We'll go around the horn, let everyone plug their channels, and we will start with Culture Casino.
Oh, all right, guys. Hey, I'm Culture Casino. Apparently, I'm Pixelated Casino or Max Headroom Casino or
Pixelated
something
Casino.
tonight. I don't know what's going on. Actually, I do. For whatever reason, they're doing repairs on my internet in the evenings. Well, at least the plant where the primary distribution is for my internet service, which means at night after a certain period of time, I turn into this. So I'm sorry, but I have a YouTube channel. Many of you are subscribed to it, which I appreciate and I thank you very much. We all would not be here without you guys, so thank you. But I'm going to head next over to Comics Division's channel to do a live stream with him over there. Tomorrow I have my own version of Comics Division show. I call it the pre-flight, and that's a live stream that is about the middle of the day for pretty much everybody in the United States, and it kind of gives you an idea what I think the guys are going to talk about on Friday Night Tights. What I think that maybe Steven and his crew will talk about this weekend, perhaps what Scott might talk about.
You are part of the culture.
Oh, I know. But all the other various shows that will happen over the course of the weekend where we all spend our time watching all of our favorite people here on the platform. So feel free to stop by and check that out tomorrow. And then, of course, on Sunday, I put a bow on it and I kind of talk about all the things that happened over the course of the week with my regular panel. And when Steven wakes up, he's sometimes on that one. So other than that, I hope everybody out there is doing very well and have a wonderful night. And I will hopefully see you soon. Thanks.
All right. We will go over to Steven.
Save our culture. Candy Corn Casino. Hashtag that, everybody, please. Thank you very much. Halloween's coming up, and that's very important to Save Our Culture Casino. Thank you guys for being here. I love this show. I love this show so much. It was very difficult for me to write about it in a negative light in the Phantom Menace Volume 1. You can find that on Audible or on my Indiegogo for the Phantom Menace Volume 2 if you missed it the first time around. The Phantom Menace Volume 2 covers the events of 2018. Hold on. There we go. Phantom Menace Volume 2 covers the events of 2018 after the backlash to The Last Jedi. It also covers Solo Lost Money. It also covers a lot of the backlash that the fans, the customers, the consumers, the berating, the disdain that creatives had for the fandom itself. In this book, covering people like Bobby Roberts, Kathleen Kennedy, Pablo Hidalgo, Brian Young, just people attached to it in the Access Media, in Disney Lucasfilm itself. It also goes through Star Trek, CBS All Access Star Trek, and the beginnings of the fallout between the fans and the creators during that year. It also covers some wonderful creators like Gospel According to Mark with a C, Mecharandom 42. The contributors that I have for this book is a wonderful list of people who have been involved in our fandom community for a long time. Stephanie Janisic, Smuggler's Cantina, Jesse Milestone of Mindless Entertainment, Ichi Baka of Disney Star Wars is Dumb. I'm so proud to have him contributing an article to this project. And the Overlord himself, Victor Van Doomcock. Thank you guys very much for supporting our channel, supporting we independent creators, we independent authors. Please check out Raquel's book. I need to get a link to that so that I can help promote her and support anybody in the community. And if you don't have the money to buy any of these books right now. The best thing that you can do for anybody in the indie sphere is to help share links. We don't have an industry to support us. We only have you, and I am thankful for every single one of you. I am author Stephen Walton, the Fandom Menace historian, your historian, born in the chats of the High Council with my brothers and sisters fighting for our modern mythologies. Wash your hands, wash your masks, guys. At least wash your masks. If you got those ones that you keep, not the ones you throw away, just wash them now and again, because that's pretty nasty. Let's face it. Be good to each other. Peace.
And most of all, Stephen, I love you.
Love you too, brother.
And people complain about my outros.
All right. So, Raquel.
Hi, I'm Raquel Briggs. I don't have a channel. I'm a communications and technology scholar. You can find my nonfiction work at academia.edu, and I use my real name. I'm also making my debut in fiction. I'm doing science fiction, and I will be publishing it through Amazon Kindle. Right now, I have a story called Jack up at Amazon Kindle. It is flash fiction. Each one of these are all for e-reading on your various devices, and each story will be $5 Canadian. So I don't know, $2 or $3 for you guys in the United States. If you're looking for me on the streams, please know that I love the Pegasus Actual podcast. These gentlemen are my friends, and you can definitely find me here. I also help to support my friend Clobber in Times, who runs an outstanding channel, and he is a wonderful gentleman.
Nice.
I would like to say thank you to everyone who came tonight in the chat. We're literally nothing without you. You make this whole conversation fun. Otherwise, it would just be a bunch of boring writers sitting in a room talking about stuff. You guys make this so great. And I would like to thank my fellow panelists. You guys are just so fun to be around. You guys are just so clever and funny and just genuinely great humans. I love you very much, and I will see you next week.
All right. Well, folks, I want to echo Raquel's thanks with letting you guys know that, yeah, without you, there is no us. You are the best chat on YouTube. I want to thank everybody in this community that has, really sort of weathered the storm along with myself and everything that has been going on with Mom. You guys have been amazing. You guys have reached out, checked on us, sent resources, sent food, put food on our table. You guys have been so helpful, and I am so grateful beyond words for the help and continued support that you give Mom and I, because without it, sometimes I wonder where we would be. But I'm above all, it's not anything material. It's the fact of the prayers, the thoughts, the friendship, the genuine friendship and kinship that you've had for the both of us. I can't thank you enough, and I love and appreciate each and every one of you, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Enjoy your Halloween, and we will see you next week for the exciting continuation. Well, the ending of the season. The finale is going to be the bomb. So I'm excited for that. So for all of us here at the Pegasus Actual Podcast, and all of those that couldn't make it tonight as well, some of our brothers in arms couldn't make the show this evening because of prior engagements, but they will be back soon. So thank you very much, and we will see you next Thursday.
Wash your ass.
So say we all.
So say we all.
We all.
So say we
Wash your
all.